I want to speak in broad strokes from a normative perspective. And what I mean is I'm not going to talk about descriptive Islam. I want to talk about Islam from a normative tradition that I'm a student of. My Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya is a master of. He spent his life probably starting at about the age of 6 or 7 and now in his 80s of really completely committed to that tradition. So I want to look first at what is the central teaching of the Quran. And if we reduced it to a central teaching, one of the great scholars of Islam, Fakhruddin al-Razi, said all of Islam could be reduced to 2 words: devotion to the Creator and service to His creation. This is very similar to Rabbi Hillel, one of the great Jewish rabbis from 2,000 years ago, who said that all of the Torah is, love God, serve God, and serve the neighbor, take care of the neighbor, and everything else is commentary. That this is at the essence of our teachings, but often because of the nature of our teachings, there are problems. So I want to look at just what that means, the oneness of God, and then look at what is the essential message that human beings should take from that, and then something about tribulation and the nature of tribulation, and then something about Sharia, and then some of these values. And I hope, I don't want to scare you away. This looks like a book, but it's just big print. So I hope I don't bore you. If you investigate the Quran, what you'll find is the central teaching of the Quran is what some scholars outside of Islam have called radical monotheism. The idea that God is radically one. Obviously, Muslims differ with Christianity in that Christians believe in one God, but they have a triune conception of that God. And Judaism obviously believes in one God. So these 3 Abrahamic faiths share the idea of one God with some different conceptions of how that manifests. But the Arabic word for that is Tawheed, which linguistically means to make one. So the person who does this is called Muwahhid, the one who makes one. In other words, making God one. And one of the, in logic studies 3 aspects of our intellects. The first aspect is what they call simple apprehension. And then the second is about judgment. And the third is about reasoning, how you get from something you don't know from things you know. And this is what traditional logic studied. But that first act of the mind, which is called conception, is based on the idea that our minds are constantly making one. The only reason that we can actually communicate is because of the ability to universalize the particular. When I speak about a glass of water, for instance, the only reason that you know what I'm saying is because you've abstracted the idea of glass, so the particular glass is understood in a universal way. You've made the many one in your mind. And the same is true for water, because water is all over with different tastes and flavors and colors, but you make it one. So I can say, could you get me a glass of water? And I'm not talking about Evian water, or I'm not talking about Perrier water, or some adjective that describes that water. You understand the one out of the many. This is what the mind does. It makes one. And so to understand Tawheed is to understand that your mind, according to our belief, has been designed to see unity in diversity. And this is why the Quran says we have made you nations and tribes, in other words, diverse, to know one another, to see the oneness in each other. The Quran says in Surah Al-Rum, the Quran says, we have created, surely in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your tongues and your complexions is a sign of God. It's a sign of God. Even the fact that we differ, these are all signs of God. And so this human ability to make one not only enables language, but also reveals the very purpose of our existence. The devotional making of one in our understanding. The very one who unveils oneness in this diverse world of multiplicity through the manifestation of divine acts and attributes, the signs of which disclose the sole source behind them for those who reflect. The Quran says, "Huwa al-awwalu wal-akhiru wal-zahiru wal-batin." God is the first without beginning, the last without end, outwardly manifest and inwardly hidden. Outwardly manifest in the diversity of the attributes that manifest in the world, but inwardly hidden in the essence of his oneness. And I use his here. Arabic tends to use the masculine to contain the feminine. And one of the interesting things about Arabic, when there's no ambiguity, it just uses, like a pregnant woman is hamil, not hamila. It just uses to get out of the ambiguity. So the masculine, just like men contain X and Y, like we've got X and Y. Like I always say, because I had 4 sisters, and they'd say, "Oh, you don't understand. You're not a woman." I said, "I've got a Y, X chromosome in there, so I've got more woman than you have man in you, because you've got 2." So the Quran also makes an argument that this is a fitra belief. The idea that there's a creator behind this. And this is called the law of causation. One of the things Fakhruddin al-Razi says, that if you take a child, and I actually did this with my kids, experimented on this. He said if you take a child and you hide, a child even at 2 years of age, and you throw a pebble from a hidden place, the child will crawl to see the source of it or turn his head to look where it came from. The child does not just assume that it popped into existence, because the law of causation is fundamentally embedded in the human being. And so when Pharaoh in the Quran says, قَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ مَا رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, what is the Lord of the worlds? Moses says, "You know very well that only the Lord of the world, the heavens and the earth, could have given me these miracles." So in essence, it was saying these are clear proofs of who it is. And so this is the idea. Muslims really believe that it is a fitra belief. It's part of the principial nature of the human to believe in God. And so at the essence of the Islamic teaching is the idea, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know that there's nothing worthy of worship except ultimate reality, which is worthy of worship. Now, Hinduism believes in this. A lot of Muslims think Hinduism is a polytheistic faith. Hinduism is a complex faith, but they have an understanding of ultimate reality, which is the nirguna reality of God, without any attribute. And certainly Judaism and Christianity and Islam. Buddhism has a belief in an ultimate reality and also has an object of devotion. So they do have devotional, even though the Buddha did not articulate it in the Abrahamic articulation. So I'm going to go, for the want of time. I had quite a bit on this subject, but I will just say one thing, that to understand God, the most important verse in the Quran is 42:11, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, that there is nothing like God, and yet God is all hearing, all seeing. And so the Muslims, like the Catholics, believe in what's called the via negativa, understanding God through what God is not. And so our theologians say anything that occurs to your mind is not God. And so we don't accept any conception of God, not a male, a female, not androgynous, no conception of God. God is beyond our comprehension. And the Quran literally says that you can never comprehend God, but God comprehends you. And so that's very important.